and share. Nope. Okay. I just have to make sure I'm recording my screen. Okay, there we go. So that's now set. Okay, so I'm going to start all the way back at the beginning of even just how do you get to Outdoors Connector and how do you log in? Okay, because in order to log, in order to create an event, you do need to log in. Now, in the document that I shared, the it says AMC Connector. Whoops, let me go back to that. That link, which I'm going to paste into the top here, this is the Connecticut chapter's link for Outdoors Connector. So all events listed for Outdoors Connector will always appear under this link. So if you want to bookmark this, that's really helpful. Also, if this is where you can log in. The other way to get to Outdoors Connector, you can go to our Connecticut chapter website. You can also go to outdoors.org and go into adventures or community and get into it from there as well. To log in, you're just going to click on the login button on the top right corner, and then you're going to put in your username and information from that you use for logging in to the database. Okay, let me just make sure I do this right. So if you've never ever logged in, you on that screen, it'll ask you if you want to sign up, and you'll click on sign up and you'll put in your information. Just make sure you put in the email that you usually get AMC emails from, because that'll just link your membership number to your account. It'll make things a lot easier. Okay. All right. Once you are logged in, just a little to orient where you are with things. So we have the home page, which is what I'm staring at right now. Um, the higher your permissions level, the more things you can see. So volunteers will be, when you click on it, if you are just a leader, it'll just have your information. If you're like me and have a lot of permissions, you can see a lot more information. Activities lists all the activities. Skills is, if you have it, it just shows like what skills, as in what is your leader level. And reports is what we use to run reports for like the weekly attendance, how many activities we create, things like that. But for most people here, you are just a leader and you want to create an event. So really what you need to know is the activities button and the create a new activity button. Those are really the only two things you need to worry about. Okay. So we're going to create a new activity. So I'm going to click on the create a new activity button. All right. This first screen is the initial information that you need to put in. So anything after this page, it's saved. Okay. So let me just put in, let me see if I can pull up my Ragged Mountain hike description. Trip description. So let's say I'm going to do a hike to Ragged Mountain, which I just did recently. Actually, let me do the Mount Higby. Let's see. So you're going to put in the title of your event at the top. You want to put the start date. So for the purpose of this activity, I'm going to put 2026. But you would put in whatever the date is. So I'll put in the 7th. Right now, the way the system is set up, you do need to put in an end date and an end time. That will be changing very soon, possibly as soon as tomorrow, but probably within a week or two. Then you got to put in the start time. For an end time, I figure out what my average time for hiking a trip is and then like add an hour or two as a buffer. Let's just say I'll pick 2 p.m. for this one. Okay. Then you're going to put in your target audience. If you don't have any restrictions on the audience, you can say open to everyone. Or if you want to thin it down, like if I'm doing a 20s and 30s, or if it's an adults only, no kids hike, or if you're doing like a family hike, like you would choose any one of these. Okay. I'm going to switch to adults. You're going to click on, if you're clicking target audience, click on the arrow to move the selection to the right. Okay. You, again, you don't have to do this if you're just going to say general, anybody can go. Okay. So then minimum participants, you want to set it to 1. Maximum by default is 25, but you can adjust, you can raise that or you can lower it. So usually I like to lead a hike with no more than maybe like 15 people. Okay. Now, don't worry. This information, you'll come across it at least 1, if not 2 more times. So you don't have to worry about if you mess up right here. You'll catch it again further down the pike. Now, there is a keywords here. You would only really need to use that if you're doing something like a multi-series events, like if you're leading 5 hikes over like several weeks. Like if when I did the New England Trail hiking series, I put NET hiking series, and you can put that keyword in, and then you can create a link from Outdoors Connector that'll list your whole series of events. Okay, that's what the keywords is for. You don't need to go in there and add, um, you know, wilderness first aid or education or things like that, because those already come up through the filters that Outdoors Connector has. Okay, so let me just double check. 27th, Ragged Mountain keywords. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. Now this creates the actual posting for the event. So from now on, if you leave this event, say your computer dies or whatever, it is saved on each step. Okay. So yes, there are several screens to go through, but every time you hit save, that section is saved. Then the next section is saved. Then the next section is saved. Okay. It's not like the old ActDB where if you close out the window, all your stuff was lost. You had to start over. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to put in, because I'm in 2 chapters, I have to select the Connecticut chapter. Most of you here won't have to deal with that. Okay. I'm just making sure somebody trying to come in. Okay. There is a draft, the status button here. You are only going to use draft. No one can publish their own trip right now. Okay. I'm going to talk more about the status later on. Then you can double check your start and end date, start and end time. And then down here's your leadership. You're going to obviously have your name in that spot. If you want to add in a co-leader, you can click search names and then you can type in a name. So like if I wanted to type in Deb, our family activities chairperson, I could start typing in Deb. I could find her name and I could add her as a co-leader to the activity. And you can add multiple co-leaders to your activity if you like. You also don't have to have a co-leader. Okay. So this is the basic information part. All right. So now I'm going to hit save and next. Let me just mention this stuff on the right is specific to you. No one else can see this information that is here. Only you can see that when you're doing this. I had that come up as a question before. Okay. All right. So now we're getting into the description part of the trip. So most of you, it's just going to be chapter led. If you work for Northwest Camp, or if you're not just a regular leader, you have your other options here. Or if you're creating a post looking for volunteers for like a committee, then you would switch it to volunteer opportunity. Otherwise, it's just chapter led. Difficulty rating. This is based on the AMC guidelines: accessible, relaxed, easy, moderate, vigorous, strenuous. I have it linked in the document, or you can go to the AMC website to see what the trip ratings are. Let me just pull up this one here. So on this page, it has everything for all the activity levels and what level each one is. And it's they have the hiking, they have the biking, they have cross-country skiing. It's all that information is in here. Okay, I have that linked in the Google Doc, and it's also on the AMC website, and I put it in the email. Okay. All right, let me go back to this. So I'm doing Ragged Mountain. It's going to be about 6 miles. So it's going to be an easy hike based on that description. The activity type, I'm going to select that it is hiking, local walks, and trail running. And then the activity subtype, I do have to pick. I do recommend that you just hit hiking because we put all the leaders in as hiking leaders. We didn't put in that differentiate between walking and running for the Connecticut chapter. Some other chapters I think differentiate. We didn't. Everyone's hiking. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. There is a secondary activity types that you can do, or you can ignore it. I usually just skip that part. I did do, if you're having someone come do a speech on your hike, you might want to, you could add like conservation or education or something to your listing that way. All right, description. This is a great thing about the new Outdoors connector is you can put in pictures and links into the data, into your description and have it part of the text. Okay, so let me do that as an example. So right now I just copy pasted a write-up that I have for Ragged Mountain. So if I wanted to add, let me just pull up the Ragged Mountain trailhead. If I wanted to put in registration required, I could add in looking forward to meeting you at the trailhead. I can highlight trailhead, click on link, and I can insert the link. Save. And then when someone sees the write-up, they can click that link and it'll take them right to this Google Maps, which will then they can use for directions. Okay. Going back to this, you can also insert a picture. So like here's an image. So I can click image and then I can go and insert a picture. Let me go and put in, I'm just gonna, for pretend, we'll do this school thing really quick just to show it. Sorry, I'm a school teacher. So you can import a picture into your text box if you want to. Okay, you don't have to. Okay, so let me get that out. So some people have started to put multiple pictures in or a picture of the map, things like that there. And you can reformat this. You can make it a list, bulleted list. You can do a number list, lots of different things. You can change the font size. You can change the type of text. All of this you can change. Now, I should mention here that if you are later on, when we get to registration, if you are someone who wants people to email you or call you to register for your activity, then you will need to put that in the write-up right here and say, please email me or please call me at, and put the contact information in there. You'll understand why when I get on a little further on in the directions. Okay. If you're going to manage all the registration for your trip right through Outdoors Connector, then you can just have this information, your description in there, and that's fine. The participants, when they register, will get an email with your contact information in that email that they can email you directly, or they can post a message on the message board, which I will explain that in a couple of minutes. Okay. All right. So then again, you have this keyword here, Fairfield County Group, east of the river, if you put EO there. If you're stand-up paddling from the Narragansett chapter, put up stand-up paddling. If you put that in there, then you can create a link that will always pull up those activities. All right, now this is where you can upload, there's upload files. This is where you can upload a picture for your trip. You don't have to upload a picture. If you don't upload a picture, the default right now is the AMC logo. If you want to upload a picture, you can go find it on your computer. Let me go to Connecticut Trips, or I can upload the logo too. We did make a suggestion if they could put in the icons or give us other, like if I'm from the Connecticut chapter and I don't put a picture in, could it be that it's the Connecticut logo that shows up, not just the generic AMC logo? I did put that in as a recommendation for improvement. So we'll see what happens with that. So once you upload the picture, you can't see it right now. You will see it in the preview. Or if you go forward one page, then come back, then the picture will be on the bottom. Do remember the picture needs to be landscape, not portrait, and it has to be under 5 megabytes. Is everyone good for me to continue on to the next part? Okay, so at the bottom of the page, hit save and next. Or if you're like, oh shoot, I gotta go back to the previous page, then hit previous, okay? All right, so I am now on the start location information. If you're doing an online event, you can just click the box and then all the information is grayed out. You don't need to do anything. But that's not what we're doing. We are doing a hike at Ragged Mountain. So you have two options. You can put in all the information. Oops. So now Paul's presenting. Okay. Let me resume presenting. Can everyone see my screen again? All right. Let me stop screen share. Paul, if you could. Oh, is everyone seeing my screen again? No? Okay. Paul accidentally, I think, started sharing his screen. Okay, share. Okay. Is that better? Okay. So there's a lot of people in here to manage. Sorry. So this is the page where you put in the information about your hike. So I can put in, if I wanted to, let me put in Ragged Mountain. And I can say search address. It's going to do that one, of course. So specific places, if you start with the name of the place, it might pick it up, but best bet is to put in the address, or you can zoom in on the map. So I'm going to do it both ways. So right now I'm putting in the address because a lot of people just put in the address. If you did this at when OC actually launched, the map was a little messed up and it put you in Colorado or upstate New York, but it is now fixed. Okay. So I put in the address and I click search start address and then it dropped the pin. So I can zoom in by hitting the plus button to double check it's exactly where I want it. And that's good enough. But if you wanted to move it, if you want to set the pin yourself, you can zoom in to where you want to put it, click on the map just like I did there. And then I can do save and next. Now, right now, it doesn't look like the pin's there, but it has moved it to where I just clicked it when that white box pops up, because the address has adjusted to Ragged Mountain Trailhead. So I'm going to hit save and next. and I'm going to move back. Oh, can't move back. Yeah. So let me just do this for a second just to get that so I can go back. So it moved the pin just a hair down the trail. Now it's right at the trailhead by me clicking on the map. Okay. So you can do either way. All right. If you have an end location that's going to be different, you can check this box and then add an end location. Most people have a start and end in the same spot though. All right, save and next. All right, so now this is the registration type. There are 3 types of registration when you put this into the system. You have show and go, registration, application. The important part here is all 3 of them have when you post a trip, a register now button by default. When they click that register now button, it will ask them to put in their contact information, their emergency contact information, and to sign the waiver, just like you guys did to sign up for this event for all 3. Then it changes based on what you pick. So if you pick show and go, then as soon as they complete that information, they're going on your trip. If you select registration is you can set the date that registration closes. So people can sign up to, say, 8 o'clock the night, excuse me, before, if you wanted to. As soon as they complete the form, they're going on the trip. Okay. Application is when they are not allowed to go on the trip until you approve them. So I know some of our leaders for the Connecticut chapter will say you need to email me to register for the hike. So I would strongly recommend that when your trip is put in the database, you say, you have it in the write-up, you have that, and you have it as application, because they can sign up for the trip, but they will not be confirmed that they're going until you move them to going. Okay. And we'll be able to soon, you'll be able to add the question. You could add the question in, did you email me to register for this activity? You'll be able to add that question in, just not yet. Okay. All right. So those are the 3 types. Okay. So show and go, they sign up, they can go. Registration, they have to sign up by a certain day and time. Application, they can sign up, but they're not going until you move them to going. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm going to do screening questions in just a minute. There is a screening questions part, but that's the next page. Okay. So I liked for this trip, I'm going to say show and go. You have the option to hide the start time until someone registers, so they won't see it unless they sign up the start time. You can also hide the location by clicking the hide location button. The only problem with that is if someone's like looking at the map of Connecticut and you click the button, hide start location, then they won't see your trip at all. So they would have to rely on getting it through the weekly email or searching specifically for the name of the event. Okay. I'm not going to hide the start time or location of my trip. Next thing, audience targeting. This is the same from the very first page. If you wanted to change it, you could change it here or leave it as is. I'm going to leave it as is. You have your minimum participants and your max participants, and then you have waitlist capacity. So if you don't want a waitlist, then you can check a box here that says no waitlist, and then when it's full, it's full. If you leave it unchecked, then you have to put in how many people do you want on the wait list. So I usually allow a wait list. And the nice thing about Outdoors Connector, as soon as 15 people sign up, that's it. Anyone else who signs up is automatically put on the wait list. One thing at the moment is the leader has to manually move someone off of the wait list to going if someone cancels. But in a future, okay. If you're getting an event that needs money, that people need to pay you To do that is actually happens right here. You have to click no wait list, and then at the bottom, associated costs will show up. So you can enter the costs, and then you can enter the amount. So I'm just going to pretend you need to pay me $15 for parking fees. I'm just making something up. You don't actually pay at Ragged Mountain. Okay. And you can add multiple things. So you could do member, non-member price. You could do child price, all of that. You can enter multiple different amounts. This button, enter costs, is only for if they have to pay you. It's not for like if you're going to a ski resort and everyone has to pay for their entry fee or their ski rental fee. That you don't put in there, because this is when they click on the event, they pay the club whatever the fee amount is. Okay, so there's a difference there. If you're saying, okay, when you get there, you have to pay to park, then you put that in the description. You don't put that under cost right now. Does that make sense? And for the people who then pay, it'll be as they register, it'll say, please put in your credit card number. They put in the credit card number, they hit submit, immediately our chapter is paid the money immediately. Okay. Waitlist is not an option with this, because as soon as someone registers, they pay immediately. There is no, you have to wait till you're approved and then pay. Right now, when they register, they pay if they're approved or not approved to go on the trip. That will probably change in a future update. Okay. Any questions about the registration page before I go to the questions page? Okay. So you're going to click save and next. This is the page. If you wanted to have people answer questions before they go on the trip, you could just check the box next to any one of the questions, and then they will have to answer that question when they register. You don't have to use these. You can skip this whole page if you want. Right now, this is our question bank. They are going to be adding more questions to this bank and probably allow us to add our own questions at a future update. This is just to get us started. And then if you wanted to see the waiver, there's a waiver link here to click. Again, it's there if you want to see it. You don't have to open it. Okay. So I'm going to hit save and next. I'm not going to do any questions from my trip. All right. So now this is the preview. And this is my last chance to kind of check over things and make sure everything's okay. So the picture is at the top here. This is a picture that shows up here and also on the tiles on Outdoors Connector when it's mixed with everything else. I can check that the information is correct, the directions are correct, the description's okay, make sure that the link works, Outdoors Connector link works, okay. Looking forward to meeting you. Oh, I think I didn't hit the save. Oh, there it is, Trailhead. So if they click that link, it'll take them to this. Okay, that works. Okay, so if everything looks good, you're going to hit the submit button. If you need to go back and edit, you can hit the previous button. Also, just as a heads up, with this new Outdoors Connector system, sorry, you hit submit and then you hit finish. In the old system, you had to like take things down, you have to edit it, then you have to resubmit it to be approved. In the new system, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes how to do it, you don't have to go through all those steps. Once it's approved, as long as you're just editing the description, you don't have to submit it for reapproval. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay. All right. So once your trip is posted, you have to wait for an approver to approve it. So you cannot approve your own trip. I can't approve my own trip, even though I'm a super user. So I'd have to wait for someone to approve it. So I'm going to go to a different activity that's already live to do the next part. Okay. You will get an email when an approver approves your trip. Is everyone good with entering how to enter a trip? Dale is raising her hand. I can't find Dale. Yes, again. That's okay. Yes, every whenever a trip is submitted, there are all the approvers in the chapter get an email, which right now I think is 6 or 7 of us. Phil can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and it goes to, so even like I get like whitewater, I get biking, I get to see all of them. Before it would only go specifically to your committee person. Right now with the launch, they have all people who are approvers get everyone's so that we can quickly get things posted when we had to move everything over. That might change, but yes, the approver gets an email. Right now, right now it is instant. The, no, it's good. There is going to be in a future update. It will be that the approvers can choose when to get that email or that the digest only comes out like once a day. But right now it's instant and it goes out to the 6 or 7 approvers who are the approvers for the chapter. All right, so I'm going to get into, let me go back to this list. Um, the next part I'd like to focus on is like, how do I access my trip once it's posted? How do I manage participants and printing that emergency contact information? Okay, so we're going to go to the event that we're doing today. So let's pretend it's the next day and I come in and I'm like, oh shoot, where's my activity? What do I do? You have to, once you're logged into the system, you got to log back in. You're just going to go to activities. That's really all you need to do is go to activities. I mean, you could go find it if you like. I could go spend time finding my post and access the information that way. But I find that if you click on activities, uh-oh, what? They're doing the update right now. Okay. They might be doing the update right now. So when you click on the activities tab, click on full list. Now these are my directions, but click on full list. And right now I have recently viewed as my pinned to the list, which I think it is for everybody. If it isn't, I would click the drop down menu and go recently viewed. And when it opens, click on the pin to pin it. So that's always the first thing you see when you get in. Okay. The reason I do this is whatever the last trip that I worked on, this is chronological order. So this is all the trips that I've been working on or have looked at. Okay. So let's pretend that I want to see who signed up for this event. So we're in right now. Any event, you're just going to click on the number, the activity number, and it's going to take you to that event posting. Okay. So we're thinking this is how do we get to the roster, see who's coming, all that great stuff. You're going to see this page, which is your activity details. You're just going to click on roster management. And then that's going to show you the list of everyone who has signed up for your activity. Now, if you had posted a question that they had to fill out, then you could click on the registration link to then see what information they did. Phil, would it be all right if I clicked on yours? Is that okay? Sorry, I looked away. Okay. Because it might show a phone number. So you click on the registration and it'll show the information here. If you had a question, it would show up there as well. I did not post a question though. The reason I took that down fast is because I'm recording this and I'm going to have to go back and edit it and block out his contact information later. So this shows me who is coming. And then if I'm like, all right, I need to print the roster for this event, you're going to click on print roster and it comes out as a one-page PDF, which is awesome. So I can just print this. Now for people who don't have phones, I'm sorry, who don't have printers, you could download this PDF and save it to your computer and email it to yourself. You could save it and upload it to Google Drive, or you could take your phone and just take a picture of this list before you leave your house. Or you could pull it up on your phone when you're at the trailhead. However, cell reception's not always guaranteed at the trailhead. Okay, that's a huge improvement over the old system. Now, so that's how you print the emergency contact. While we're here, this is also where you would want to message people. You have two options for messaging participants. You can click the send mass message button at the top. You can click the check all button, click compose message, and then you can type in your message. Can't wait to see you tonight, Corey. Then you would click review and making sure you have it going everyone you want, and then hit confirm. Now, if you send an email to everybody, then it'll show up in they call it the chat box down on the bottom, or you could call it the message board on the bottom. So for example, both of these messages, so this message here, I posted earlier today and via email, and it posted it to the chat box. You can also, if you don't want to do the email method, you just click this message box, type in your message, hit post, and then everyone would get an email saying that Corey has posted something, click on it, here it is for you to see, okay? You can also message people individually by just checking the select people that you want to email. So like if you have 3 people who are carpooling, you could check those 3 and say, hey, do you want to carpool from East Lyme? Let's meet here at such a time, okay? The one thing about messaging to remember is that when you send a mass message, all of that information is visible to everyone who signed up for the trip and anyone who is logged into Outdoors Connector, even if they haven't signed up for the trip. So just keep that in mind. This is also how your participants can send you messages, is if they have a question, they could post it here and you'll get an email saying that Johnny sent you this email, please respond, okay? Another thing to remember is that people will also, when they register, they get an email that says, thanks for registering. Here's your leader's contact information if you have questions. So they can click that link to email you there. And participants also get a reminder email the night before saying, we're looking forward to seeing you at such event tomorrow. If you need to contact a leader, here's the contact information. Okay. So those are all really helpful tools for communicating with the participants. Now, for those, again, the important part here is for the people who are like, well, I really don't feel comfortable doing this. I want people to email me. That's why you would need to put in the application as a registration and also put in your description, please email me to register for the trip. Are there any questions about sending a message or posting a comment? No? Okay. So let me go back. Let me just check. So we have all this information here. Again, the stuff on the right, only you can see. This information on the right also lets you know when you're posting a trip, what you can lead. If you try and lead an activity that's outside of your leadership level, it won't let you submit the trip. If you have a problem where you're like, I really should be able to lead this 8 mile hike, but it's saying I don't have permission, reach out to your committee chairperson and they can check, they can fix your permissions. Because I can see right here, okay, I'm a level 3 hiker. I've had some people say, I can't post a hike. And I went in and they were a level 1 hiker and they were trying to lead like a hard hike, for example. Okay. All right. Let me go over just, okay, what happens if you need to cancel a trip or update the status like it's full. So I'm going to go back to that activities tab. So again, just pretend it's another day. Once you log in, click on the activities tab, click on full list, and then I have recently viewed pins, so I can go straight to the event, but I can pause right here and I can do a lot of stuff right here, or I can edit the trip. So if I need to cancel a trip because there's 6 feet of snow coming down or something like that, I can click the publish status and I can click and change it to canceled right here. Or if you are someone who's handling registration through email and the trip is now full, you can go in here and click full or waitlist. Um, or if you need to edit the whole trip, like the map location is wrong, or now you can put in the how much it's going to cost for the trip. To do that, you would need to click on the activity number and click on edit the event. And now I can edit the description here. Okay. If you needed to change location, add costs, things like that, then you're going to have to change from published to draft. And then you'll be able to go back to those other screens to change that information. But for most people, you'd only need to change this information and then you can save it. You don't have to reapprove it. Okay, that's another great benefit of this new system. You don't have, I've had people who say, I need to fix this, and they were able to fix it without having to go through reapproval. Another thing, if you are like Phil has to often go in, if there's a trip that's canceled or postponed, you can just click on the edit button next to the title of the trip and you can put in postponed to such and such a date or canceled in the title, and then also change the status of the trip right here. Okay. I'm not going to do that right now because that's a live event. Something else. Yeah, they, yes, there was that glitch in the system. I think now I haven't tested it, which I can test it. If you want to approve my other, the fake hike that I created today for the tubing social in 2026, if you want to prove it, I could test it. So I think they fixed that it doesn't do that anymore, but I need to check that. So if you approve my tubing trip for 2026, then I can cancel it and see if it still shows up. But that's why if you wanted to put here canceled in the title, and then you could switch like the listing to waitlist or something, you could do that as well. Okay. I'm sorry. I've got, well, it says William, but I know it's not William with a hand raised. Sorry. You can, what I just did, everyone can cancel their own trips now, is my understanding. I have superpowers, so I can do everything. But it should be that when you log in to activities, you should be able to click this button and go canceled. So if you would like to put in your own trips, you are welcome to do that. The approver will then see it and uh, check through it, because that's the point of a approver, is to check to make sure the information is the way it should be. I don't know if those people are, sorry, I'm not great with names, if they are on the approver list right now. But like Phil, myself, and I know a couple of Tuesday, Thursday people are on the approver list, but I don't know which ones are and which ones aren't. So you can submit your trip and it'll get approved. You don't have to send it to the Tuesday, Thursday coordinator. Did that answer your question? Okay, Dale. So if you like cancel a trip or say the list is full, something like that, then they will get a notification. If you edit something like you add a word into the description, I'm not sure if that notification will go out right now, because right now they simplify the notifications. Um, so I would have to look into that. My understanding would be that they would get a notification if you added something to the description or changed the date if they're registered. I do know a benefit of this, like, is if you had to move an event from, say, Thursday to Saturday because of snow, you can just move it, and everyone who's registered stays registered. They don't get kicked off and have to re-register. I do know that. So let me just say, well, actually, I can also test that right now with this. Okay, while I'm doing this, I know someone's speaking. Go ahead. Because Phil did not he did not change the status of the trip. He didn't cancel it. He just changed the title to postponed. So that answers the question that will someone get an email if your trip is edited? Right now, you didn't get that email notification. Um, but if he had canceled the trip, then you would have got an email saying this trip is canceled. Does that make sense? Yes. So that this So but what Phil, yes, 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 that's what happened. So if we had canceled, because there's 2 ways to do this. There's a couple ways you can do this. Okay, okay. So I just for so 2 parts. First of all, answering Dale's question, does a change to the event send out an email alert? If I just edited the description of the trip and just said, "Thanks for coming," and it doesn't look like anybody got an email for that. However, if I said the event is canceled, or if I change the date for the event for the posting, then everyone who's registered would get an email saying the date of this activity has been changed, such as a date, or this event has been canceled, depending on what we did. The way Phil did it, because the activity was still there on the page, all he did was change the title. It didn't create an alert because changing the title is just changing the title. Okay. It's this. Does that make sense the way I explain that? Because the if people have registered, if you're using the system and you just say change the date, you can send a message saying the date has been changed due to such event because of rain, snow, whatever. Please update your registration if need be, and physically change the date. Then everyone will get an email that the event has been moved. If you just um, the other option is if you cancel the event, everyone gets an email the event is canceled. But I would recommend that you could make a copy of your trip, post it to the new date, and then put in the description for the cancel trip saying, this trip has been canceled. Please see the new posting to sign up for the new event. Okay. So the system gives you that flexibility of which way you want to go, if that makes sense. Personally, I think I'd like to just change the date so I don't have to change all the information and send out an email to everybody. Because if someone comes into the database, they're going to say, oh, the trip's no longer there on this date. So it's not there. It must be canceled. Let me move on to the next. Oh, there it is next week. Okay, it's on this date. But also, I understand the cancel it because some people look at the database and expect to see if a trip is canceled that it's there. So that's something we just have to check. So Phil approved my trip, so I can check to see if I cancel it, if it still shows up, which I can do that in just a second. But let me just double check to see that I've covered the big things because I know it's 8:06 and we got a little bit of a late start. I apologize. Because we talked about how to communicate with participants, emailing and message board. I showed how to edit and update the status and canceling the trip. There is information in the document that I shared on what it looks like for a participant. Because for a participant, that register now button shows up no matter what. If they log in, then they can see the information down on the bottom. Okay. If they don't log in, they can't see the message board on the bottom. Also, it's big discussion about that register now button. If you're leading an event, you don't have to have people sign up online. You still can have that paper waiver at the trailhead. That's okay. But if someone signs up on here, it's not a big deal because if you're having a show and go trip anyways, they're going to be there anyways. Um, the benefits is being more people up through them chapter news and encourage them to become members of the chapter. So that's really why they have that register now button, is that we're working on bringing them into the AMC realm and reaching out to them and want to encourage them to become actual members, if that makes sense, what I just said. Um, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see the name, CSESSA5. Yes, the way this system is designed, and the old system too, anybody can create an account in Outdoors Connector. Anybody. You don't have to be a member to log in. I always do that as a backup, um, just in case. But you do have, if you're doing the sign up online and they don't register, I'm sorry, let me clarify the question. Is the question, can you accept somebody even if they didn't sign up online? Or are you concerned about some random person showing up? They don't because if they've registered an Outdoors Connector, they sign the waiver. Yeah, and then the procedure is the same for that of you just take a picture of it or email or scan it and then email it to AMC after the fact. That's what I've been doing is I've been encouraging people to sign up online, but then because I post on Meetup and Facebook, I might have one or two other people show up and I just have them sign the form at the trailhead. Sorry, I think, oh, sorry, I lost the hand. All right, go ahead. Oh, if everyone register online, you don't have to send anything to AMC. You're done. It's only if someone shows up at the trailhead and fills out a form. All right, Altina, Tina, oh Tina, unmute. I would say, and this is something I was going to bring up at our upcoming meeting, is that we still want to have a coordinator who's still reaching out to leaders to ask them to lead hikes. And we're still going to have I think, a large number of those leaders who aren't going to feel comfortable inputting this trip and would prefer that Phil or those coordinators still enter the trips for them, which is okay. That's just some of the hiccups that have happened since the launch have been because of that system versus everyone just putting the trip in themselves. So I think we still want those coordinators to, but it will free up their time to focus more on, organizing events and getting people to organize events versus having to input the trips into the database. Does that make sense? So yeah, I would say we're going to be um, keeping the coordinators, but if we can lessen their workload so they can focus on that coordinating versus the time putting in trips, that'd be a huge help. Deb, yeah, well, and that's what the approver does when you submit a trip for approval. The approver is supposed to read through it and check for those type of things. But yes, especially in the Connecticut chapter, those coordinators are still going to continue to input trips for those who prefer that the trips be entered for them. Well, well, and I'm available. I plan on doing several trainings throughout the year. And in addition, what you're seeing right now is the first version. They're actually coming out with a new version, find it down to less screens. Uh-oh, did I just lost internet connection? Okay. Um, Lessen the number of screens and also make it easier for you to find your activity, edit them. Um, so there's stuff coming down the pike to clean things up. I just don't know exactly when it's supposed to come out. That's okay. Yes, June, go ahead, and then I'll go to Tina. Well, for me, and my experience, and I think with any of the AMC trips, is if the person doesn't show up, they don't show up. I mean, I did used to when I first started, I would call people, "Hey, you're not at the trailhead. Are you still coming?" But now, what I do is if they're not at the trailhead and I've done my speech, it's 15 minutes after the time I said we are going to meet. If they're not there, I'm leave we're starting. And also I email my phone number to the participants ahead of time so they could text me if they're running late. So if they didn't email me or text me, I'm going. Um, but again, that's a leader preference. But if they're not on the trailhead on time and you have other people ready to go, then I would go. Does that make sense? Is that yep. I'm sorry. I think Dale has her hand up still. Yes, Dale. Yes. Yes, because I've even used it myself, and that's one of the other things with Outdoors Connector is you can go in after your event and say like this person, this person, this person, and the next time they sign up for an event, the leader when they see them register can actually see, oh, this person signed up for 5 events, but they canceled every time. There were no shows, or oh, this person has showed up on multiple hikes and they've always appeared. I think they're, you know, there's someone I can send on the trip. Or if you're screening, oh, look, they've signed up for all these 15-mile hikes. I think they'll be okay for my 10-mile hike, things like that. So to see that when you're looking at their that roster information, when you click on their name, it'll show all the activities they've signed up for in Outdoors Connector previously. Well, and yeah, no. So there's some coordinators who enter trips and some that don't, but I don't know who always enters, who never enters. So just saying that out. Okay. Well, this also isn't just for hikers. Whitewater is also here and biking that they have people who input the trips for others. So it's not just hiking. Oh, okay. So all the hands went down. Okay. So I think I've covered everything that's important that we really wanted to cover, how to create the event and everything. Um, The only other thing I think I might mention is just if you're looking to clone an activity or you're looking for an activity that you used previously, if you go to that activities tab and go to the full list, and instead of doing recently viewed, you click the activity library or click all. So like if I do activity library, let me just have a check if it's that one. Whoops. So here I could find that someone did a snowshoe at Ragged Mountain. Let me just see if it goes the other way. All. Oops. All. Thank you. Oops. Sorry. Forgot to click the box. Ragged. Okay. Well, that didn't work as planned. Um, I think it's the activity library that you can search, or again, they might be changing things going into that new update. But here's a list of activities they imported from ActDB or all the trips, with the exception, I think we're missing Phil's from January something, that you have a clone button option. But um, so once you input the trips, then you can actually go back and clone them also, or you can look up other people's trips. But I wasn't going to go into that one as much tonight because the main focus was this might be your first time even seeing the Outdoors connector. Um, and it's maybe in the directions for the that I shared. Let me see if I can double check that. Just putting this back over here. I really recommend bookmarking these links under AMC resources, especially the Outdoors Connector knowledge base. They just did a big update on this today, so it's now searchable. So you can actually type in and search, and it'll pull up posts regarded to that. Or if you just go through, you can click any one of these links and it'll give you step-by-step directions on how to do that task. I've They just updated today while I was working on this project, so I don't have all of them in my document. Also, if you need the level document, it's linked here to know what a level 2 means, what a level 1 means as a leader. And then the trip rating description is here, for you to figuring out, is my hike or bike or rock climbing hard, easy, relaxed, what have you. If you still need a paper waiver to print out, I put the link in here for that. And then if you go to this last link, the AMC Volunteer Resources page, that's where you can go to get like the waiver for photos, or you can print waivers from there. You can get trip planning documentation templates and all those great things. Or if you're looking for handbooks, you can look for that there too. Okay. All right. So I think I've covered everything that was the focus on this training. My plan is to do some more training as more updates come out, and also like maybe like approvers or committee chairs do a separate training for them talking about how to approve things. But other than that, I'm going to share this YouTube link eventually with everyone. I appreciate everyone that came this evening. I hope you found this really helpful. If you have questions, you can email the communications at ctamc.org, or you have my direct email from this event that you can email me directly with questions. If there's anybody, I'll open it up if anyone has any more questions. I can stay on a couple more minutes. You're welcome. Hope this was really helpful. William. Oh, sorry, not William. I lost her. Joanna, sorry, my screen's bouncing around. Did you did you e did you email the person directly, or did you email the volunteer relations link? So Well, because I know that if you email one person directly, you may not hear a response for quite a while. But if you email what it says, like volunteers, shoot, the volunteers, it's not volunteers relation, volunteer support at outdoors.org. If you email that one, if you have questions or comments, like they're pulling them in, and then depending on the type of email, they sort it. So, like if it's suggestions for improvements, they put it over here. If it's, hey, this is broken, fix this over here. If you can't log in, it's over here. So, I know that some people, depending on your style of the email, like uh, people who can't get access to their account type stuff, those get answered right away. If you suggested an improvement, you'll just get an email saying thank you for that information. We've collected the information, and that goes into the people who are working on making the improvements. But you probably won't get an email. If you sent a specific question to a specific person, um, it may take a while. Because yeah, I have emails that haven't. Oh, I had an email that got answered today that I sent a while ago. So I'm just not sure if you sent it directly to a person or to volunteer support at outdoors.org. All right, I think, Gina, did you have a question? No? Because the hand was up and then disappeared. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you again for coming. You got my email if you have a question. Or you can also reach out to Keith or Phil or Lean, but Keith, Phil, and I are the primary people who can really answer questions and get things fixed if something's not quite right. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the recording. Let me stop that recording and stream. Hopefully that